Hi, I'm Jamie Kelly from Mind Games Intermedia, and today I'm going to explain to you what the Enigma Prime series is. If you've downloaded Chroma Chords, you've probably noticed at the beginning there's a splash screen that says Enigma Prime series. What the Enigma Prime series is a series of puzzle games, and all of them share a common point system. That means that for the first time, you can be playing a puzzle game that's completely different from someone else and still be competing on the same level. The whole vision for the Enigma Prime series is that we have 3 games to start out with. The first one's Chroma Chords, which you're already familiar with. The second one and the third one are going to be designed by the community. And once all 3 of them are out, and they're all refined, that'll be the trilogy in the Enigma Prime series. Then we're going to bundle all of them together, add some new features to each one, and we're going to introduce multiplayer. And with multiplayer, it's not just going to be game on game, like what we talked about earlier. It's going to be game A versus game B versus game C. So that means that if you have the trilogy, the bundle, the Enigma Prime bundle, and your buddy has the Enigma Prime bundle, both of you can fight against each other, and you can be playing whatever game in the series suits you the most. So with most puzzle games, you can tell that your brain is just more inclined to do better at this kind of game or this kind of game, colors or numbers or shapes. And because of this Enigma Prime series, you can play your best game against someone else's best game, and it'll share a universal point system. That being said, each game is going to have a different set of attributes. So Chroma Chords might be seen as a dagger, kind of like a weapon, where it's small and it gets small, quick strikes for small, quick points. Whereas game C might be seen as a battle axe, where it's really, really slow to get points, but once you get those points, they're huge. And so you're going to be able to choose, depending on your situation, which game is going to be best for you. And the other awesome thing about this is what we're planning on doing is making it so that when you have these 3 games, they're not 3 individual apps. They're 3 games that are all included in the same app. So what that means is that while you're playing the Enigma Prime series, by shaking the phone or by pushing a button, you can switch from game A to game B, and then switch from game B to game C. And whatever game you're not on, pauses. Now this opens up a whole series of awesome potential. For example, if you wanted to do the absolute biggest monstrous move ever against your opponent, you can go into game A and set it up so that you're about to make a massive combo. And right before you do, you switch over to game B, and then you set that game up so that you're going to make a massive combo. And then you go over to game C and you set that up right before you're about to make a massive combo, and then you switch back to game A and do the one move that yields a huge move. And then you go to game B and do the same in game C. So you have 3 of these games, and each one you're landing 3 successive huge hits against your opponent. And it'll be devastating because the way the point system's going to work is kind of like tug-of-war, where it starts in the middle, and every point that you get, it goes over to your side, and every point they get, it goes over to their side, right? Well, the downside to having that strategy where you're going to spend all this time across all 3 games is that you're not scoring any points while you're making that huge move. So the whole time you're sitting there setting up these huge moves, your opponent can be pulling the rope towards them. And that's where team play comes in. You can have 2 versus 2 matches, which means that your job as team member A will be to get those quick strikes in, to keep them at bay, to make sure that the rope doesn't go over into their territory too much, while your partner, teammate B, is busy building this huge monstrous attack. So because you're allowed to switch between all 3 games, because you're allowed to play multiplayer, because these games that are going to be included in the bundle are going to be enhanced versions of the games that are already out for free, we're going to charge for this. So this is going to be the first time that we charge for a game as the bundle. So to be clear, the first 3 games that are coming out in the Enigma Prime series are going to be individual apps, just like Chroma Chords, and they're going to be free, and they're all going to be made by the community. So if you want to just play those games, you'll never have to pay anything. But once you want to buy them all in the bundle, buy the enhanced versions with multiplayer, that's when you're going to have to buy it. And the real reason why you're going to have to buy it is not only to cover costs of making the game and running the network and all that stuff, but because of Apple's rules on the iPhone for downloadable content. You can't have additional content on a free app. So what this means is that if we want to introduce new games down the road as downloadable content, the app needs to be a paid-for app. So the grander scheme of the whole Enigma Prime series is that you're not just going to have these 3 games, but the community is still going to be able to participate and say, I have a great idea for a puzzle game. Pitch it out there, have the community say yay or nay. If they say yay, then everyone just works on it. Now you have game 4 of the Enigma Prime series, and everyone's worked on it and crafted it, and it's a completely different game from the first 3, and now we sell it as an add-on app. And that's the business model. And we'll keep recycling that, and we'll keep adding games to the Enigma Prime series, until technically, the file's too big or whatever stops us. But the reason that works so well is because they're bite-sized projects. If we said we're making some adventure game or some first-person shooter and you contributed assets or music or story or anything to it, it's going to be years before you actually see your project come to life. But with a puzzle game, it only takes a few months. It only takes a few months for your idea to actually be in your hand on the iPhone. So it'll keep the community engaged, it'll keep them excited, it'll make things fresh. Meanwhile, it's a great business model because you're selling the bundle for some money, but then you're also adding on all these other games for money. And so from the gamer's point of view, you're going to have the kind of this quiver of weapons, this arsenal. And you might be the kind of person that just loads up on the quick attack games, or you might be the person who has a nice balance between quick attack and heavy games, and you might be the guy who just does heavy stuff. And however many games you have in your library is up to you. And what makes it great is since you don't have to take away the other person's games in order to win a match, I could have 8 completely different games that I'm switching to while I'm fighting you, and you can just have the basic 3, and it'll still be a fair fight because we're just going on points here. So no matter how many games you buy, there's no compatibility issues. You don't have to fight someone who has the same game, for example. So it's really exciting. That's the business model behind Enigma Prime. So when you see the Enigma Prime series, what it means is a series of games. The first 3 are going to be free individual apps the community's worked on, and then we're going to sell the multiplayer bundle. And then from then on out, the business model is to have more community-created games that get added to the Enigma Prime series. So that's what Enigma Prime is all about. It's going to be very exciting. It's incredibly unique. Nobody's ever done anything like it before. And hopefully you will be a part of the process of making the great games that make up the series.